When we put this interview up a few years ago, our first interview with Carmine Apiece, there was a little pushback. And I told Carmine this about a month ago when I talked to him, where just because John Bonham is John Bonham, has the skills that he had, was in the great band Led Zeppelin that he was in, doesn't mean he didn't learn from other drummers. So because Carmine is not as well known in some circles, people thought, well, how dare you say that John Bonham picked up your triplet? It happens. First, we're going to play the original clip where Carmine talks about him and John Bonham, and then I ask him about the reaction from our listeners, our viewers, to what he had said the first time. Carmine Apiece, John Bonham, Led Zeppelin, Vanilla Fudge, and a lot more on Rock History Music. John Bonham was born May 31st, 1948, in England. He was a pivotal figure in rock music as a drummer for Led Zeppelin. Known for his powerful, innovative drumming style, Bonham's influence can be heard across numerous genres and generations. He started playing drums at the age of 5, inspired by jazz and blues drummers like Buddy Rich and Gene Krupa. Bonham was in Led Zeppelin in '68, quickly earning acclaim for his technical abilities, dynamic range, and, of course, explosive live performances. Bonham's drumming became a cornerstone of Led Zeppelin's sound, contributing to iconic tracks, and even though he comes late into the song, like Stairway to Heaven, Kashmir, and A Whole Lot of Love. His solo on Moby Dick showcased his exceptional skills and stamina, solidifying his reputation as one of the greatest drummers in rock history. Now, despite his musical success, Bonham struggled with alcoholism. It affected his health and behavior. On September 25, 1980, after a day of heavy drinking, Bonham was found dead at the age of 32 at Jimmy Page's home in Windsor, England. The cause of death was asphyxiation from vomit. His untimely death marked the end of Led Zeppelin, as the band chose to disband out of respect for their irreplaceable drummer. Bonham's legacy is just immense. He left a profound impact on rock drumming and music.
Yeah. Well, because with Vanilla Fudge was the first band I ever had to put my whole full body motion into playing and getting the power from the body rather than just the wrists or the arms, because of the volume, And by necessity, I created what was called, heavy rock drumming, because everybody had these big amps and the other guys who came up with me, like Ginger Baker, Keith Moon, Mitch Mitchell, they were all light players, They weren't really heavy, as per se, loud and heavy. I did that out of necessity, and then I got big drums thinking that bigger is louder, and it was. So I created this style for myself that worked with the volume that Vanilla Fudge played at. I didn't know I was creating something new. I was just doing what I had to do to get the drums out there.
Well, like you had said that when Bonham said, hey, I'm doing this little part, and all of a sudden he said, I got it from you, and then he played you the piece, and you go, oh, I guess I did that, but you were just playing drums at the time. You weren't trying to create something.
Yeah, because back in those days, we would have an arrangement to a song, and, the intros and different parts of the song were arranged, but the other parts of the songs were spontaneous playing, So when I went into the studio, I did the intro, and then I play a verse on something. I just play whatever, I never really rehearsed to play the same exact thing every day like they do today. And I just happened to play that triplet once or twice, and I remember I used to do the triplet, once in a groove, but it wasn't done like the way Bonzo did. He kept repeating it over and over, one after another, which created that thing that he created. But it also reminded me of what Joe Morello used to tell me. He said, nobody has it all, we all steal from each other. And I agree with that, because we all take stuff and do it our own way. Some of my fills were taken from Max Roach, but done my own way. So Bonzo took that, and I didn't believe it. And he pointed out, I think it was on the Renaissance album when I did that. And I said, wow, I did do that. I didn't realize I did that.
Music fans are so weird. It's like when you look at Elton John, everyone looks at Nigel Olsson as the best drummer. He was for Elton John, but Roger Pope, who played on 2 of his albums, was technically a better player. He knew more tricks. It's almost like they go, no, it's Nigel. I'm going, I know that. It's good, but someone's allowed to teach another drummer stuff. And just because you love John Bonham doesn't mean Carmine Apiece didn't Teach him stuff.
No. The deal is this: Joe Morello, who's a great, great drummer from Dave Brubeck Quartet, Take Five. He once said to me, "Nobody has it all. We all take from each other." Period. For me, I took from Gene Krupa, Buddy Rich, Max Roach, and Joe Morello. You know, and John Bonham liked Gene Krupa and Buddy Rich and me and some other guys, and he took from me and them. And Cozy Pal took from me and other guys, and goes down the line. Goes down the line. Billy Cobham taught us all something. Billy got it from somebody else. I mean, it's just the way it goes.
A lot of people were talking about the fact that Robert Plant,
Yeah.
Jimmy was different. Jimmy had been a session player. A lot of people talked about in the beginning, and I didn't get that because I only, again, because of age, got them into it later, but that he wasn't refined in the beginning. Like people balked at Robert Plant being in this Yardbirds-ish kind of band.
When Zeppelin first, I don't want to sound condescending, but if that's the word, but when Zeppelin first opened for us in the beginning, we were all kids, but we were probably the most intense live band in America at the time, 1968. Anybody that was around and saw those concerts back then. And when Zeppelin opened for us, they were just wet behind the ears. And I used to
What did
talk
they
to
tell you
Robert.
about? Let me interrupt you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What did they tell you about this band that was opening? Okay, this band, what did they tell you? How did they introduce the fact that this British band was trying to break into the US? How did they present that to you guys?
I was at my manager's house out in Long Island one night, and our agent by the name of Ron Terry was there, and he said, this band called Led Zeppelin is going to be opening for you. And, told me, obviously Jimmy Page was with the Yardbirds, but Robert Plant and John Bonham and John Paul Jones, they were unknowns in America at the time. And Jimmy came over to America and he put this band together. He called it Led Zeppelin. We became label mates, and he said, these guys are going to open for you. And he played some of the tracks for us before the album was out. And the first song I ever heard by Led Zeppelin was You Shook Me that night. And I was like, wow, this guys sound amazing, And that's how it started. And we started playing shows in the Northwest, and bang, 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 dressing door, knock, and it was Bonzo, John Bonham said, is it all right if I come in? I want to meet you guys. And they all were behind him, and we became we got on great. And I thought these guys were like, wow, these guys are really cool.
Well, they must have been intimidated by you guys.
They were in the beginning. I mean, I used to tell Robert Plant, don't get mad at me, Robert, but what's true is true. I mean, we were kids. I used to tell him, you got to move a little smoother on stage. You got to move a little more. And I remember telling Jimmy Page that you got to get bigger amps for your guitar. It's the truth, man. It's so weird, but I mean, after about 4 or 5 shows, these guys got it together so fast. And I mean, by the second tour, they were just so amazing, They were the most passionate rock and roll band that ever lived. If anybody saw Zeppelin at that time. I remember telling their wives and girlfriends that second tour, I said, your guys, they're going to be bigger than the Cream before you know it. Because Cream was the big arena band back then, the big, so obviously they became who they became. And it's an amazing story. I remember hanging out we're at Tim Bogart's house. He used to have an apartment by the river on the Jersey side of New York, on the Hudson River. Zeppelin used to come up there. We used to, get loaded, drink, and we used to listen on an old stereo. We'd listen to their first album, hanging out together, and just having a great time, So when we had a lot of fun on the road together, and suddenly they just took off to lands that were unknown. It became so huge, so fast. Yeah. And I remember it really bothered me because it was like losing a girlfriend, It was like all of a sudden they got married to the king, They became so huge and so rich so fast, and they were gone.
Did you ever
So-
talk to them after that?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, I jammed with Zeppelin one night. I remember seeing John Paul Jones in Malibu. I was driving down the street in the '70s, and I recognized him. I jumped out of the car and went into the house. And at the time, Robert was in a motorcycle accident, I think, around 70. What was it? 75-ish.
Yeah.
He was there in a whole full leg cast, and anyway, they invited me down to rehearsal in LA that night. And they said, but don't tell anybody we're here. I said I won't. So I went down and I ended up hanging out, and we actually jammed that night. That got around real quick. That was pretty cool. And then next time I think I saw Robert was I think it was at the Atlantic 40th anniversary in '88 at Madison Square Garden. We were all hanging out. That was an amazing rock and roll week. So yeah. Got a lot of history here, my friend, you know?
No kidding.
Like crazy.
And this is a tip of the hat to you. When John Bonham in Jersey comes up and shows up for your drumming clinic, I mean, hey, Carmine, I know you were friends, but I mean, that's something that shows that, wait a minute, he's coming to your drum clinic.
Yeah, I know, but you got to understand something. He wasn't the icon he is now. He's the icon he is now because he died at a young age, and the records still continue. I mean, Led Zeppelin's still the biggest band on the radio. I think Queen is starting to catch up to him now after that movie, because I'm hearing Queen all the time on the radio now. I mean, it's good for guitarists, without doubt. And I talked to Brian on email. I told him I was going to release it. He said, good luck. You know, because there was a time in the 90s when around the time we did guitarists, where he wasn't playing hardly ever. And we went to see Aerosmith, and he said, man, I really miss playing. And I said, yeah, I know what you mean. You know, I said, but I've been playing a bit. You haven't. And I said to him in the email, I said, man, you came back with a vengeance. I said, you guys are doing residencies. You got a movie. You're touring the world. We played a gig at Sweden Rock Festival with them. It was in Ella Fudge 2 years ago. You know, but we were just finishing. And I couldn't get back to see them because there's the distance of where they were versus where we were. And we had to leave, and so I never got to say hello. But you know, they're doing amazing. And he said, yeah, I know. I've been blessed having a second career. I said, I've been really blessed. He says, I'm so thankful for it. You know, he's such a nice guy.
Oh yeah.
And you know, he's an astronomer. He's a doctor of astronomy.
No kidding.
He wrote a book called The Big Bang, or Bang, I think it's called.
Yeah.
A huge book with two other astronomers. You know, go online and put in Brian May, the astronomer.
Yeah.
You know, and talk about this book, and it's amazing. Huge book.
If you want to contribute to the channel, there's a PayPal link at the very top of the description. Also a link there for the brand new Cactus album that Carmine has just released with an all-star cast. You can join our Patreon. You'll get early access to all our videos. And go to our swag store. You can pick up a t-shirt at T-Top, a coat, hat, and a lot more with our logo on it. Subscribe to our channel, share our videos, comment on them, and like them as well. I'm John Bowden. This is Rock History Music. Take care of yourself.